I assume that you consider yourself to be qualified to be the permanent Attorney General. Is that right?
Yes, Senator.
I've read your resume. We all have. You don't need to comment on this, but it just seems to me that no fair-minded person could conclude that you're not qualified. You spent a long time with the department. You spent a long time in private practice. So the opposition of my Democratic friends must be based on something else. Are you and President Trump friends?
I'm his lawyer, was his lawyer, and now I'm the Deputy Attorney General. So I met him as his criminal defense attorney. I'm not sure there's very many people who have ever had a criminal defense attorney who calls that person their friend. I now have a...
Well, let me put it this way. Are you enemies?
No, we're not enemies at all, no.
Have you ever seen a president of the United States appoint an enemy to be Attorney General?
I have not.
Usually they appoint their qualified friends, don't they?
Yes,
I mean, one president appointed his brother, right?
he did, Senator.
And I can think of another president who appointed his former law partner. Is that right?
It is correct.
Okay. Are you responsible for all the president's decisions?
No, Senator, I'm not.
I mean, does the president get up in the morning and give you a call first thing and say, Todd, tell me what I ought to do today?
He does not.
Okay. Does he ever ask your opinion on actions he should take?
Yes,
Do you tell him the truth?
every time.
Have you ever disagreed with him?
Yes,
And have you ever disagreed with him and he did it anyway?
yes,
And did you go call a press conference and announce that the president made a bad decision?
absolutely not.
That's not what attorneys general do.
Correct.
Okay. Has he ever asked you to do anything illegal?
No,
Would you do it if he asked you?
absolutely not.
Okay. How many pages of the so-called Epstein files has the department released?
Nearly 3 million.
How many more pages are there?
That are responsive, we're not aware of any.
How about that in the department's opinion are not responsive?
Well, from what we collected, about 3 million that were just nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein or the case at all.
Okay. Why don't you just release everything? Just let it rip.
Well, that would be against the law, because the only reason we could release the 3 million we did is because of the Epstein Transparency Act. There are federal laws that prohibit the release of case files, and the Epstein Transparency Act was very explicit and specific about what could be and should be released.
Other than to himself. Well, first, we can agree, can we not, that Mr. Epstein was a pig?
Yes.
Other than to himself, who, if anyone else, did Mr. Epstein traffic young women to?
There's from what we learned, from what we know. So when we know, I mean, what's in the FBI files and what's in the DOJ files, we did not identify evidence. And by we, I mean career prosecutors, not me, not my leadership, but career prosecutors in New York and career prosecutors in Florida who worked this case hard, did identify other participants, some of whom, as has been discussed, were also victims themselves of Mr. Epstein. But we did not have evidence as of now, of other men who were that were trafficked, that Epstein helped traffic. Does not mean it didn't happen, and I want to be clear about that. It just means that we have evidence that the FBI gathered and that the Department of Justice gathered, and that's the body of work that we have to work with, which is why I said earlier, if there's anybody out there, victim or otherwise, that has information, I beg them to come forward.
Okay. Did Jack Smith read my emails?
I'm not sure, Senator. I don't know.
Would you check for me?
We will check, Senator, yes.
I think he read Senator Grassley's emails. How did he, how can someone at the Department of Justice get Senator Grassley's emails without probable cause?
There are checks in place that should make it extraordinarily difficult for a prosecutor to collect and review a senator's emails or a congressman's emails or a lawyer's emails or other folks that have privilege protections associated with their communications. And those checks and balances should always be used.
But Mr. Smith just ignored them?
I cannot speak for Mr. Smith, Senator.
Would you check for me first if he read my emails? And
we will check.
Number two, how he got them. And number three, I don't mean to single out my friend Senator Grassley, but what emails did he get of Senator Grassley? And I mean, what were they limited to, if at all? You know, did he get emails of Senator Grassley talking about his corn harvest and all of that? And who did he share them with? Do you know if Mr. Smith shared my emails with Attorney General Garland?
I do not know.
Can you check for me?
We are investigating that, Senator, yes.
Yeah, I'd kind of like to know all that. Now, Mayor Lori Lightfoot sent she sent the world a letter suggesting that we should not confirm you as Attorney General. Who is Mayor Lori Lightfoot, just for the record?
So she's the former mayor of Chicago. I believe she had a brief stint in the Department of Justice prior to her political life.
Right. And you had some conflicts with her.
I do not believe she supports our administrators' efforts making America safe again.
Okay, right. She thinks cops are a bigger problem than criminals. Would that be a fair assessment?
She definitely, her public rhetoric is not something that either myself or this administration supports, which is to always back our law enforcement.
She thinks if a cop shoots a criminal, it's automatically the cop's fault. But if a criminal shoots a cop, it's automatically the gun's fault. Would that be a fair assessment of the mayor's position?
Her public statements suggest that.
Yeah. Would you put her even in charge of a ham sandwich?
I don't believe she should be any part of this administration.
Well, the people of Chicago apparently agreed. I think she ran for re-election and got 16% of the vote. Is that right? Do you recall?
I'm not sure what percentage she got, Senator.
Okay. Tell me a little bit. One of the things that under your authority, the department has concentrated on, which I agree with, in addition to prosecuting crime, is the prosecution of white-collar crime, fraud. Tell me a little bit about that.
It's incredible since COVID absolute thievery that's happened from the fisc by people in this country. And so we have focused tremendous amount of efforts, not only in the new division, but at every U.S. Attorney's office, with every Inspector General and their offices, the FBI, DHS, and HSI, to just root out this fraud. You have examples of individuals just stealing. So setting up entire centers for autism when there are no patients, when there is no center, and taking millions of dollars of hard-earned taxpayers' money. And so we are very focused on that. We've already, like I said earlier, billions and billions we've already collected in just the past couple of months. That effort is going to go forward for as long as I am in the position that I'm in now, no matter whether I'm confirmed or not. And it's extraordinarily important to every American that this doesn't happen, because we're not talking about whether someone agrees or disagrees with a policy. It's just outright theft by individuals, and unfortunately, many state governments, if they didn't absolutely know what was happening and just encourage it, they certainly stood idly by while it was happening, which is also a problem.
Okay. Don't forget to check on my emails for me.
Senator, yes.
Thank you.
Senator.
He asked directly, "Are you and President Trump friends?" Blanche responded carefully, explaining he had been Trump's lawyer and is now serving as Deputy Attorney General. He met him as a criminal defense attorney, noting that not many people call their defense lawyer a friend in that context. Kennedy pressed further, asking if they were enemies. Blanche said no, not at all. The senator followed up by asking if anyone has ever seen a president appoint an enemy as Attorney General. Blanche agreed that usually they pick qualified friends, referencing examples like one president appointing his brother and another his former law partner. The conversation highlighted how presidents choose people they trust, but Kennedy wanted to know more about the dynamic. Blanche made it clear he is not responsible for all the president's decisions. The president does not call him first thing every morning for advice on the day's actions. Yet the nominee confirmed that Trump does sometimes seek his opinion, and he always tells the truth. He has disagreed with the president on occasion, and there were times when those disagreements did not change the outcome. Importantly, Blanche stated he never went public to criticize or hold a press conference announcing a bad decision. That is simply not what attorneys general do. Kennedy asked if the president had ever requested anything illegal, and Blanche said no. Would he do it if asked? Absolutely not, came the firm reply. These moments showed a layer of professional boundaries even in a close working relationship, easing some concerns while fueling more debate about where loyalty ends and duty begins. But that exchange was just the beginning of revelations that have people talking. When the discussion turned to one of the most sensitive topics in recent years, the so-called Epstein files, the room grew even more attentive. Kennedy inquired how many pages the department has released so far. Blanche reported nearly 3 million pages, adding that as far as they know, there are no more responsive pages left. He explained that many of the collected documents had nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein or the case at all. Kennedy pushed, suggesting they should just release everything. Blanche responded that doing so would violate federal laws. The releases that happened were possible specifically because of the Epstein Transparency Act, which set clear limits on what could be made public. Reports claim this careful approach aims to balance transparency with protecting ongoing legal standards and privacy rules that apply beyond high-profile names. Everyone agrees, as both men noted, that Jeffrey Epstein was a deeply troubling figure whose actions caused immense harm. The key question lingered about who else might have been involved. Blanche explained that career prosecutors in New York and Florida who worked the case extensively reviewed the FBI and DOJ files. They identified some participants, including individuals who were themselves victims, but did not find evidence of other men who had been helped in trafficking activities. He emphasized that this does not mean it did not happen, only that it is what the gathered evidence shows so far. Career professionals drove those conclusions, not political leadership. To keep pushing for truth, Blanche urged anyone with information, whether victims or others, to come forward. This part of the hearing stirred fresh speculation online about what more might still surface in the coming months, with rumors suggesting additional details could emerge if new witnesses speak up. Yet officials stress that everything released followed strict legal guidelines designed to avoid overstepping. The hearing took another sharp turn when Kennedy raised concerns about past investigations and potential overreach. He asked whether Jack Smith had read his emails. Blanche said he was not sure, but committed to checking. Similar questions came up about Senator Grassley's communications and how any such access could occur without proper probable cause. Blanche acknowledged there are important checks and balances meant to protect privileged communications for senators, Congress members, lawyers, and others. Those safeguards should make it very difficult for prosecutors to access such materials. However, he could not speak directly for Smith and noted that those rules appear to have been ignored in some instances. Kennedy requested a full review, not just for his own emails, but details on what was obtained from Grassley, whether they included routine matters like discussions about agriculture and who else might have seen them, including possibly Attorney General Garland at the time. Blanche confirmed the department is investigating these matters and will follow through. This line of questioning highlighted ongoing tensions about how previous probes handled sensitive political figures and whether proper procedures were followed, adding fuel to broader conversations about government accountability. Opposition to Blanche's nomination also came into focus during the session. Kennedy referenced a letter from former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot urging against confirmation. He asked for context on who she is, and Blanche described her as the former mayor with a brief earlier stint in the Department of Justice before politics. The nominee suggested her views do not align with the current administration's efforts to make America safe again. Kennedy characterized her public rhetoric as seeing cops as more problematic than criminals, with examples like automatically blaming officers in shootings involving suspects while attributing other incidents to guns rather than people. Blanche agreed her statements reflect positions the administration does not support, emphasizing strong backing for law enforcement. The senator noted that Chicago voters appeared to agree, as Lightfoot received only about 16% in her re-election bid. This portion underscored divides in approaches to crime and justice, with the hearing contrasting past leadership styles against the current focus on results. Shifting to achievements, Kennedy praised the department's work under Blanche's authority on prosecuting white-collar crime and fraud, an area both men see as critical. Blanche described incredible levels of theft from government programs that have drained taxpayer dollars for years. The DOJ has ramped up efforts across a new division. Every U.S. Attorney's Office, Inspectors General, the FBI, and other agencies to root out these schemes. He gave examples of brazen fraud, such as setting up fake centers for autism services with no actual patients or facilities, yet siphoning off millions in funds meant for real help. These cases represent outright theft rather than policy disagreements. The department has already recovered billions in just the past couple of months, and that work will continue regardless of confirmation status. Blanche stressed its importance to every American, noting that some state governments either knew or looked the other way while it happened. This crackdown represents a major priority, showing concrete action against waste and corruption that affects hardworking families. As the hearing progressed, these exchanges revealed deeper layers about how the Justice Department operates in a charged political environment. Speculation continues about whether Blanche can maintain true independence while navigating a close professional history with the president. Some reports claim critics worry about misplaced loyalty, while supporters point to his willingness to disagree when needed and his commitment to legal boundaries. The Epstein files discussion left many wondering about unresolved questions and the importance of victims coming forward with new information. Meanwhile, the review of past email accesses raises important points about safeguards and oversight that apply across administrations. On the fraud front, the billions recovered signal real progress against schemes that have cost taxpayers dearly, from phony programs to larger patterns of abuse. Throughout it all, Kennedy's questions kept the focus sharp and direct, avoiding fluff and zeroing in on what matters to people watching government at work. The back and forth demonstrated a process where tough issues get aired, even among those who may share broader goals. Reactions poured in afterward, with some praising the transparency on display and others debating what it means for the rule of law moving forward. There is buzz around how these hearings could shape not only Blanche's confirmation, but also public trust in institutions handling everything from high-profile cases to everyday fraud enforcement. In wrapping up the key moments from this hearing, it becomes clear that questions of relationships, evidence release, investigative procedures, and anti-fraud efforts are far from settled. The exchange between Kennedy and Blanche offered a window into the challenges of serving in a role that demands both loyalty to the law and